E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna and Jim, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Ginwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing real good today. We got a lot to be thankful for, and there for a moment the red light didn't come on. I didn't know if he's recording or not. But
well, I'm over here fighting a cat on my lap.
I just took my pulse. I'm alive. I tell you, we got a lot to be thankful for, don't we?
We do. This has been so much fun talking about the lost art of storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
Because, now, go ahead. In the very beginning, going clear back to probably the dawn of time, stories were just told by being passed down from generation to generation to generation.
That was the only way people were able to share any information and stuff like that. That's how people learned, because they didn't have books back in those days. And it's just amazing how we have lost the art of storytelling, especially the young generation that's really lost the art of communication.
Right.
I mean, there's so much into their cell phones and texting and stuff. They've really, they've lost a very valuable part of what made us us. It really is. And today, before we get kicked off here, July the 13th, today is the National Day for, are you ready for this here, folks?
Go for it.
National French Fry Day. My goodness gracious.
And I like a good French fry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. A good one. Yeah. You better believe it. And
probably the good ones aren't good for you.
I know it. It's a great opportunity to take home some golden brown fries. And, oh, man, I like it when Evelyn bakes them in the oven. And she puts some paprika on it and different spices or seasonings on it. Oh, it's good. It's real good.
Absolutely.
But French fries is more likely not French at all. Potatoes were first being fried in Belgium, way before the French started that.
Interesting.
And it really is, yeah. But the main thing of it is potatoes are a staple. And one of the things that we do with potatoes when we're out there, we're burning limbs and stuff like that, brush, and we'll put we keep the fires small. We don't build big fires because it's too dangerous at any time. And the coals down there, Ellen likes to take and wrap up some potatoes in tinfoil, and she'll split them and put seasonings in there and everything. She'll stick them in there and leave them there for about 40 to 45 minutes. I think it is something like that. And when they come out, I don't know what it is about cooking outside or whatever, anything outside like it, it just adds an additional flavor to it that just cannot be duplicated in a stove in the house. There's just no way.
It's like cooking a steak in your toaster oven. It'll cook it. Or cooking it out on the barbecue.
Absolutely.
Whole different thing.
And this is a day that National Day of, we don't normally think about these guys, the National Barbershop Music, the Barbershop Quartet. And oh my goodness,
that's a blast
gracious.
From the past.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that one time they were the big thing. As far as the timeline goes, as far as Appreciation Day back in 1953, the Sweet Adelines go international on March the 23rd. This U.S.-based barbershop music group opens up its first branch outside of America. They're in Canada. And later, they changed their name to the effect the new member base becoming Sweet Adelines and International in 1991. And, their day was born. The Sweet Adelines International marks the 60th anniversary of its founding by creating the Barbershop Music Appreciation. And the barbershop quartets, I mean, they were fun to listen to. They were very talented.
They were.
Mm-hmm.
They really were. And the last one we have today is National Beans and Franks Day.
Oh my goodness. I can't tell you how many meals that I've had of beanie weenies, and my goodness gracious, especially in the military. Oh,
right.
Those things taste delicious. We're out there on bivouac and, out in the field in the boonies. Oh my goodness.
Well, it says here, it's kind of interesting that baked beans debuted in the United States, harking back to the civil rights movement. However, the exact origins of the idea combining sausages and baked beans still remains uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
So this was available in cans in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, baked beans date back to, Civil War and
way before that, way
because
the arrival of baked beans in Europe was dated back in 1528. It says baked beans are brought to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And the invention of pork and beans, Van Camp, they created that in 1894. So man, oh man, that was my favorite growing up, was Van Camp's pork and beans. And oh my goodness, and the baked beans and weenies, oh my goodness, that's still a delicious with soda crackers. When I was a kid growing up, that was a cat's meow there. It didn't get any better than that, folks.
Oh goodness. So we've been talking about the storytelling, and yesterday was kind of interesting because we gave some examples, Jim.
Mm-hmm. We did. Mm-hmm.
We gave examples, and then why that's important.
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. And I'd like to kick off the show, if I may, by going back over Martin Conroy's story that he created that started out as a letter being mailed to people, the snail mail method, back in 1974. It ran till 1999 for 25 years. Of course, it got converted electronically into emails, but just listen to the story. And it generated over 25 years, it generated over $1 billion in sales to the Wall Street Journal. And this is that story. I'm going to share it with you again because it's so powerful, folks. On a beautiful late spring afternoon, 25 years ago, two young men graduated from the same college. They were much alike, these two men. Both had been better than average students. Both were very personable, and both, as young college graduates they were filled with ambitious dreams for the future. Recently, these men returned to their college for the 25th reunion. They were still very much alike. Both were very happily married. Both had 3 kids, and both, as it turned out, had gone to work for the same Midwestern manufacturing company after graduation, and were still there. But there was one little difference between the two young men. One became the manager of a small department of that company, and the other one became president of the company. So what made the difference? Have you noticed, as I have, what makes the difference in people's lives? It isn't a native intelligence or a talent or a dedication. It isn't that one wants more success than the other. The difference lies in what each person knows and how, listen up, how he or she makes use of that knowledge. This was the close for the Wall Street Journal. That is why I'm writing to you and people like you about the Wall Street Journal, for that is the whole purpose of the journal, to give its readers knowledge that they can use in business. Notice how that story drew people in and made them want to have knowledge, to be able to put good, knowledge to use.
Mm-hmm.
And that it really blows my mind, because Emerson shared that with us. First time I heard about it was a Monday show with Emerson. Emerson was the one that shared that with us. It's hard to believe with all of the advertising and all the updates and all that, that simple story
Right.
ran for 25 years and could generate $1 billion. It is by far the premier ad in ad campaigns.
And it goes to show you the power behind
Mm-hmm. It sure
storytelling,
does.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The power behind storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So storytelling in business is a definition of how to draft a good story. So that's the beginning, right, Jim?
It certainly is. You got to know how to draft a good story, because storytelling, it really is a business of using effective communication that allows your brand to connect with the customers. Notice how with the Wall Street Journal story, it connected the customers to wanting to have knowledge, and that's what the Wall Street Journal delivered.
Right.
And that's amazing. By telling a story, businesses can share product information or introduce customers to their brand. Learning how to draft an effective story is important if you want to reach your customer base. In the article, we discussed the benefits of storytelling, and we're going to continue more of that in this show, as well as how you can create your perfect story. I'm ready for that. How about you?
I really am. So, it's interesting because when you break everything down and you talk about your business, whether you are going to a networking group or you're getting your flyers ready to go to the printer, it all comes back to one thing, just one. You're telling your story.
Exactly
it's real
right.
simple. So that's why it's important to understand storytelling and the art of it. So what is storytelling in business? Storytelling in business is the process of telling a story rather than listening facts. Nobody wants to read, well, we do this and we do this and we do this. They'd rather be engaged, right? So when communicating with your current or potential customers, tell a story. It helps businesses stand out from their competitors, providing their customers with a storyline in which they will remember them. Stories in businesses help large brands connect with customers in a deeper and more meaningful manner. It's all about that emotional connection.
You're exactly right, Donna. And I remember a commercial. I don't even know why they don't continue this. There was a big bank, and they had one scenario. The scenarios were similar, but it showed a guy on an airplane, and of course he's getting ready. It's pre-takeoff, and the stewardess is up at the front, coming back slowly, looking left and right, making sure everybody's got their trays up and seat belts hooked and all that stuff are fastened. And he gets a text and says, "Did you deposit the check?" And he gets an alarmed look on his face. So he puts the check down on the tray, takes a picture of it, takes care of the electronic business to deposit that check into the account. And by the time the stewardess gets to him, his tray's up, his phone's off, he's in his pocket, and he's sitting there smiling.
Right.
And the advertisement said that, the bank.com/your bank.
Right.
And see, that's a great story there because they didn't use any words, but they communicated an emotion, a feeling, because you could feel yourself, I felt when I first saw it, hurry up, don't let the stewardess get back there with your tray down and you on the phone, because that's a no-no in pre-takeoff.
Right. But by making a business more personable, customers are more likely to choose your brand.
You're exactly right.
Right. And storytelling can be used to communicate with customers of all types. It may be used to explain the technical details or to demonstrate why a customer should choose your brand over, right? Keep coming back to me. Storytelling in business leaves out the details that are not relevant to a customer's decision when choosing a business.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. Yeah. As you were talking about that, one thing flashed in my mind, Donna. I don't know if you remember the old Volkswagen commercials, but they were one of the first ones in the 60s that used humor. And they were entertaining. And that's what you want to shoot for. You want to engage your customer, your demographics into the emotion that fits your product, your service. That's the key that unlocks everything.
Right.
And I remember this one VW commercial. I'll just share this briefly. It shows this guy coming in. He's bald headed, got a pair of glasses on, and they got this group there to meet him, kind of like, the people who show up for, what's the name of the group that, where they show up at your house with the flowers, all the Publishers Home Clearinghouse, how they have that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. As you can see, we don't pre-rehearse anything. Anyway, they rush up to this guy. He's here, our 1 millionth customer. He's here. And the guy's looking around like, who, But the humor in that, and they shared the story of why people wanted to, just had to have Volkswagens. And they used humor to really bridge that gap beautifully. I got to tip my hat to the Volkswagen people for doing that. You might remember some of those old commercials because there was a bunch of them.
I do. But the interesting thing is what you said, and I kind of want to go back to that.
Okay.
It's what your demographics is and how that's going to best fit. Humor, you don't want to make it so somber, right? You bore people to death. And they're like, because I know I think we all have. I read things, and if it's so long to get to a point, like the first point, I'm over it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah.
It could be $1 million product for a great deal. But if you have taken 2 pages and you haven't made your first point, you've already lost me. And that's important. And understanding your demographics, like you said, Jim, that's critical. That's not just important. That's critical.
It really is. And I don't know who the Einstein was that came up with the original concept, because we've all gotten emails in. You read something, okay, that sounds interesting. And you click on it and it starts a video and you don't know how long it is.
Right.
And they go on and on and on about the problem. And you're going like, well, I know what the problem is. If I didn't understand the problem, I wouldn't be here in the first place.
Right.
And they go through about 29 testimonies. I don't care about these people. They mean nothing to me, And they drag on about 45 minutes before they get down there, and they're trying to build up, get you to bite and all that. But I mean, that's why we did the 6-minute webinar, and it's still around. We still do the 6-minute webinar. That thing is sweet, short, and to the point.
Right.
With a call to action. And it's one of the most brilliant webinars you could possibly do. If you'd like to know a little bit about the 6-minute webinar, get in touch with me and Donna here at the TV station, inspiration@e360tv.com. We'll be glad to get you some information on that. And most importantly, I'll guarantee it'll be the best time that you've spent as far as investing in yourself. But it just amazes me. Yeah, because like Donna was saying, you don't want to tell them everything.
You don't want to throw up on
them. That's about what it is, because that's why people become scanners. They're just looking like, okay, what's in it for me here? I mean, I don't want to go to night school here. I just want to know if this is a good thing for me. I want to feel, have you connected with me? Did you build up emotion in your verbiage? Right. And that's the beauty in stories. Stories draw in people that you can help, and they repel people that you can't help. That's the first rule of marketing.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have to concentrate on who you can help. Period. And you've got to understand that a minimum usually of 80% of your audience is not for you.
That's correct.
So you don't want to sell those that have no connection to you, that have no no interest.
Mhm.
You don't want to beat your head up against a wall. So you want to understand your demographics so that you can target the people whose product you have will help their lives.
Just like at Donna's website there, we got that running there on the marquee. Donna created a program based on what she went through. And she can share, I'm going to have her share a little bit about her, what she does, and the reason why DonnaGuimard.com was created. And also to get in touch with her, just email her at highenergyrightnow@gmail.com. But Donna went through a traumatic, situation in her life. And I don't want to slaughter it or steal her thunder. I'm going to let her explain it. But she knew there was others out there that she could help.
Right.
Take it away, please.
Well, I was struggling with some serious health issues, and I didn't know what they were. And so I thought I was literally having a stroke. And so I thought, well, I need to take myself to urgent care. So I took myself to urgent care, and I didn't know this. You say the word stroke and you get put in an ambulance and taken to emergency. So they whipped me over to emergency, and they put me in an MRI. And it was through that MRI that they found, nobody knew, I had a really huge aneurysm behind my right eye. And so I had to see a neurosurgeon about that. But because of the symptoms, I kept having to have other tests. So I was with another neurologist for that. Fast forward it, the day I was to find out what all the test conclusions came to was the same day I was scheduling the first of my 3 brain surgeries. And my neurologist told me that I confirmed positive for having MS. So talk about pulling the rug out from under me. And then I go in to see my neurosurgeon, and he's like, well, yeah, we've got to go in and we've got to see what we're looking at and how big this is. So we've got to set up surgery immediately. So, within probably 2 weeks, I had my first brain surgery from there. So fast forward, I had 2 more brain surgeries. The second one was actually, it'll be the end of this month, the 27th. I had the main brain surgery, and then that was in 2015. In 2016, I had my final one in January. So after 3 brain surgeries that close together, my brain and my body was tired. And I was a single mom raising 3 children. And I got to tell you, it knocked me on my rear end sideways. Right? I couldn't speak a full sentence because I couldn't remember the words. I was depressed. I was thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to help my children? How am I going to help myself? And I went into a funnel. So I did a deep dive in my life, and I tracked and I read and I took charge of my life. And I came to the conclusion that there's only really 3 things that happen to us that causes problems with our energy: a person, a place, or a thing, or a combination thereof. And we let them run our life, and we can let them ruin our life. So after I got through this and I put this program together, and I said, oh my goodness, I cannot be the only one going through this kind of issue, this kind of negative stuff that life gives us. So that is truly how high energy performance coaching came about.
Imagine you could feel the emotion there, her going to the, going to go see the, doctor about scheduling first brain surgery. And she goes in to see what all these tests about. She's got MS. And you just imagine how she felt at that moment. I got MS, I got to have brain surgery. I mean, what's next? And I mean, it's, she really had, a huge burden on her stress, worry, the whole enchilada. And when Donna decided, hey, there's others I can help by telling them my story. Think of all the people who have suffered from TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, or someone that's going through something that they just can't understand what's robbing them of their energy. They can connect with Donna because, Donna, listen up. Donna has got skin in that game. There's a big difference between that and then some book you wrote. Oh, okay, I'm going to make a program out of that. Right. You don't have any skin in the game. That's why your story needs to be authentic. It needs to be about you, your experience, because that's what people want to connect with. They want to connect with you. They want to get to know you. They want to get to like you. They want to get to trust you. Then they will know that whatever you're offering, product, service, whatever it might be, would be the preferred choice, their preferred choice. That's right. That's what the storytelling is all about right there.
It really is, because just like with anything we have in life, we don't really want to go to somebody who hasn't been in those shoes, right? Mm-hmm. So that's right. I use this example all the time of, say you're quite overweight, and I can speak from experience because I've been there. I did it on my own, but say you were overweight like I was, almost 100 pounds overweight. And you go to somebody who is, we'll say $125 in weight, and they've got one of those metabolisms that we'd all just give our right arm for, right? They can eat anything and everything in sight and never gain a pound. Mm-hmm. And they've never, ever had to worry about that. And they went to school. So yes, they have that knowledge from school, and school's so important. They have that knowledge, but what they don't have is the emotional stress of going up and down, trying to lose weight, of going for 2 months and your weight doesn't change at all. Mm-hmm. And you think, what am I going to do about it? So it's really hard if you're like I am. It's really hard for me to relate on an emotional level with somebody who hasn't been there. Mm.
I knew a guy one time that he was I think he was a family counselor or something like that, and he was single. And we were at a party. This was back in the 70s. He was all college trained and all that. And someone says, how can you be a family counselor if you've never been married and you don't have any kids? You know what his response was? Well, just like a male doctor, you don't have to be a baby. You don't have to have a baby to be a pediatrician. And there's no comparison to there. There's just none. There's a disconnect there because, even if you're thinking, well, I don't really have a good story that would fit my product or my service, that's okay. You can tell the story about a third person that connects your audience to your product or your service. You can do that as long as you're telling the truth about this third person. And third person has a lot of power to it too. So there's a lot you can do with storytelling. If you start mastering storytelling and start sharing stories, my goodness gracious, because people love to be infotained, don't they, Donna?
They do. But more like what you said, Jim, be truthful.
Yeah.
People can spot an untruth a mile away.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you're being untruthful, the sad fact is word will get out that what you're saying isn't true. And that will just ruin everything for you. So being truthful is so, so important.
It's critical.
It is literally the foundation for everything you do in your business.
Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I might give someone advice about, after they got divorced, but I've never been divorced. I'm not a good subject matter expert on that. I haven't been through that. And I would be kidding myself and also using up other people's valuable time with something I read or something that I think I might understand, but I've got no skin in that game.
Right. And oh boy, you're right. It can create a real issue. It can create an issue. And then unfortunately, what happens if that backfires, that people will often say, well, if that person said this and it wasn't true, they have no experience, then I will never be able to trust them again.
Amen. Amen.
And you can be telling the truth going forward after that, but because that one disconnect can cost you forever.
Yes, because you're releasing a lot of negative energy. And because all truthful statements release positive energy.
Right.
It really does. Negative energy is released when you're talking about a philosophy or you're talking about something that you don't have any experience in. You're just trying to sugarcoat stuff.
Right.
And that negative energy, it always raises its ugly head 100% of the time. And it will embarrass you, won't it, Donna?
Right, it will. And just like if you add fluff, like if you're not, a lot of people will add fluff, and fluff is the stuff to fill a sentence, right? It's the stuff to make the paragraph kind of come together, but it really has nothing to do with anything. It's just a filler.
Yeah.
And that filler really has no tie to your story.
You're exactly right. You know, Donna, you and I, we've worked with the International Youth Summit, and one of the things that the young people there, because they got members all over the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And one of the most common things there, this is a myth that they believe to be true. And myths, I'll tell you right now, our good friend, I'm going to hold up this book, Mr. Bill Heinrich, The 7 Levels of Truth. And she's got the original one. This is the updated one. And Bill is there. And Bill talks about tear down the myths in your mind. Because a myth is something that you believe to be a justifiable reason. Because these young people, the most common thing they say, well, I don't have any money. And I don't, I can't go any further. That justifies them to justify why they're failing and they cannot succeed. And when I talk to them and tell them my true story, I grew up on a farm in North Carolina. My dad grew cotton and corn. We didn't have much money. In fact, I didn't even know we were poor till we went to town. And see, there they can connect with that because it's a true story. And that's critical. That's very critical. And instead of saying, well, don't let money stop you. That's just a hurdle. Well, there's a disconnect between those two responses there.
Right.
And Donna, that storytelling there, we're sharing with them that information. Oh my goodness gracious! You want to share that next bit with them, please?
I do. Okay. These are so important. Instead, a story includes details like motivating factors of the team. The values and the morals that the business holds, an understanding of the customer, and a chronological flow of details and information that lead the customer through a story. Storytelling tells and shows customers that a business is much more than a big brand. It demonstrates that they have a story to tell.
Absolutely. I'd like to add something a little bit there, if I may, and hopefully this will be fit in. Back when the Washington Redskins won their very first Super Bowl under Joe Gibbs, that was in 1982, the 83 Super Bowl, they asked the team, how did you guys do it? Because there was no superstars on the team. And they said, well, there were 26 free agents. Several of the linemen who became famous as the Hogs had been cut by other teams. They weren't good enough.
Right.
And so they realized and they embraced the fact that we're not good enough. We got to depend on one another. We've got to pull together as a team. And that's what Donna was sharing right there about how the team comes together and gets motivated.
Right.
They realized individually they couldn't do much, but together, working together in perfect harmony, they could. And that's what you want to do in business. You want to build a network. You want to build a tribe of people. We hear a lot about a tribe. You want to build a tribe of people that will depend upon you. You can depend upon them, and you're there for them. And they know beyond the shadow of a doubt, you're the real deal, which means they know you've got the courage to admit when you make a mistake.
Right.
Or you can't really do, or to raise up to the next level. They will respect that. A lot of people are too scared to admit that. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with them.
Right.
That's what keeps people in step with you through thick and thin, isn't it, Donna?
It is. It is. The honesty.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Honesty is simply your integrity.
Amen.
Right? And it's nothing that Jim nor I haven't said before in the show, that if you're not in the right integral space that we put ourselves in and that we hold ourselves, that I hold myself to a certain type of integrity, then I don't want to do business or be associated with other people. Because that integrity is so important for me. Because I have to lay my head on my pillow at night. I have to look myself in the mirror and say, I can't hide from me, right? I have to be able to say, I did good today. I didn't do any harm.
Amen.
And the last thing we want to do is harm somebody.
Oh, yeah.
In life in general or in business.
Yeah. And Donna, I'm just going to share just a 10,000 foot overview of the blessing we got today. We have, let me just say, an individual who is a VIP, very well known, and we had an idea, and I wanted to make sure that this individual was, okay with what we wanted to do. And the individual and his wife let me and Donna know, hey, you have our blessing. We're with you all the way because we trust you guys. And they could call on anybody to do what we want to do. And, that's something that you earn. That's part of who you are. That's the air you breathe. That's the air you exhale. That's, that's just who you are. You got to be true to yourself, true to everyone. And, Donna was there when I admitted that, I made this promise. He said, well, I'm relieving you of that promise. You remember that? But at least I had the courage in front of everybody to admit what I had promised and I was unable to deliver. That paid dividends rather than me stand there and try to make some cotton candy excuse.
Right.
And because Donna was there and other people were there. And I guess it was about 5 or 6 of us in that room when I said all that,
I believe so. Yeah. I believe so.
Yeah. But see, the point of that is that when you're honest enough to say, I tried and I failed, that builds integrity. That just demonstrates integrity that you're demonstrating right there, because they know if they ask you a question, you're not going to give them some cotton candy made up answer, because that's what we all want. All we want's the truth.
Well, and we're all human, Jim.
Yeah. Can you help me? Yes or no? That's all a person wants to know.
We're human. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah. If it doesn't work, it's not, it just means that was not the right place for you at that point in time.
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of using storytelling in business.
Ooh,
Would you like to, you want to start that out? I know. Go right ahead, young lady.
Storytelling in business can be a powerful marketing tool. There are many benefits to using storytelling in business, including engaging customers and employees. Stories engage customers on a deeper, personalized level. They can also help employees connect with a business and better understand their values and their morals. Create a memory.
Oh, yeah.
The longer that a person thinks of a product or brand, the more likely they are to become a customer, because stories resonate with people.
Mm-hmm.
Stories resonate with people, and they are more likely to create a memory.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, if you have a really good experience at a car dealership,
Mm-hmm.
and say whatever, 3-4 years later, you need a new car or you want to buy another one, you go to that same person, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's exactly it.
Mm-hmm.
So storytelling also triggers emotions and feelings. Triggering emotions helps brands connect with customers.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions are more likely to encourage action.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of action are they talking about, Jim?
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness gracious. That's a call to action, is what she's talking about. Come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I got to share with you two funny examples of two different businesses who had a funny jingle that made people remember them. The first one that I read was about a dry cleaning and laundry service. And the advertisement was, and they printed this out in newspapers and everywhere, we don't have these big, huge, fancy machines that tear off your buttons and rip your clothes. We do it very carefully by hand. And people loved it. And the second was back when men used normally would have service stations. This man had a service station, and right next door, his wife ran a diner. The two businesses were on the same property, and they advertised the best place in town to stop, eat, and get gas.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Think about the stickability that has.
Right.
The humor, because, Don McGrath was telling me about TED Talks. He says the funniest, the TED Talk had the most laughs, most watched TED Talk, had more laughs per minute than the funniest Seinfeld show, Seinfeld. And the point being, I'm not saying you got to be a clown or anything like that.
Right.
But blend in a little humor, if you can, if it's appropriate,
Humor goes a long way.
It has that stickability too. Mm-hmm. It really does. And that's what you're wanting. You're wanting people to remember who you are, what you offer, what your product is. And that is the power of storytelling in business.
Right. And if you can blend it in, and you're talking about yourself, and it's a little har about your own self, well, that makes it even better, because people look at it and they think, well, dang, Jim's not afraid to laugh at himself. People who aren't afraid to laugh at themselves are very honest.
Yeah, that's true. And think about people that you've done business with, that you're loyal to.
Oh, yeah.
And when you build customer loyalty with your tribe, the people you service and all that, customers become loyal to businesses because they become emotionally connected with them.
Right.
And because stories communicate ideas in a way that customers are used to listening, then it's a lot more easier and more likely for you to encourage customers to become loyal to you. Mm-hmm. The more loyal they are to you, the harder it is for them to go somewhere else.
That is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
That is a fact. I think probably all of us can say that. All right, for example, we all, as women, we have favorite hairdressers, right? People who do our hair, and they move shops. Do you stay at that shop, or do you follow your hairdresser? Right?
Yeah.
Loyalty.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that because and my barber's always, same place. But anyway, you're exactly right, because you don't want you've heard that song. Ray Stevens, about the barber. He's getting his hair cut in different places across the United States, and the different ways the barbers are, because guys can relate to that.
Right.
But when it comes to developing customer loyalty, let's plow into that a little bit. customers become loyal to your business that because they're emotionally connected with you. And the stories, this is an opportunity for you to communicate ideas in a way that customers are used to listening.
Right.
And that's what makes them more likely to encourage them to become and remain loyal customers to you. I mean, there's not a negative thing anywhere anybody can say about, I wouldn't tell stories if I was you. This is my product. This is the greatest product. This is what John C. from Tupelo, Mississippi says. Well, who cares what John C. from Tupelo, Mississippi says? Because you don't know John C. from Tupelo,
Right.
Mississippi, and neither do I.
Right.
So it's got no value. But a story delivers value all the way through because it takes your customer on a journey from where they are to where they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My goodness, time's flying. I do too. We're going to have to run over another hour and a half to get all this in today.
Well, go ahead and talk about the competitive advantage.
Okay, all right. You want to give your business a competitive advantage. Everybody's looking for that. Storytelling gives businesses the opportunity to stand out against their competitors by connecting with their audience. Stories allow them to leave lasting impressions. Now, let's stop on that for a moment and let's think. How many times have you been thinking about doing business with a company and they got all these like games and gimmicks? And you're kind of like, I don't understand half this stuff.
Right.
So you come along, you're in the same business as they, and you tell a story. And they get to know you, like you, trust you, and they say, hey, this is my kind of person. This person's down to earth. I can connect with this person.
Right.
And the other Einsteins over here are trying to figure out how to, well, if you put you on the monthly plan, you get 25 or 30% off on the monthly shipping plan. They're only wanting one thing. They're communicating they want your credit card.
Right.
They want to sell product. That's their message. That's a horrible message for you or anyone else in business to try and deliver to your customer base, to your tribe, because you want to build a tribe, people that know you, like you, trust you. And, that is the foundation of success. It really is not money, but having that integrity and having that likability. That's the foundation of your business.
Right. And one of the other ways to have that competitive edge with your customers is make a real good point of asking questions, finding out about them. So say you say it's a home product. I don't know. We'll just use that as an example.
Okay.
And you need to talk to Jim, or he calls you and you say, hey, Jim, how have you been? And you get the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, Jim, I know you bought that product number X 2 months ago. How'd that work out for you?
Well, if it did, I'd say very well. If it didn't, I'd say very, very bad.
Right. But what my point is, you've made a point to talk to him and show and acknowledge that he had bought something. How did that work out for you?
Yes.
You've made a point. That means you've taken an interest in your customer.
And remember, everything that we buy for hope. We hope this will do what we're looking for.
Right.
And that is so important, because to persuade customers to take action, what we call the call to action.
Right.
The goal of most marketing projects is to get the customer to convert. But stories persuade the customer to take action. That's the power in storytelling. It will persuade them to take action, like buying your product or your service. That's why storytelling is so huge. I really encourage you to invest time into thinking about, your story, about your product, your service, your business. Even if you want to write a book, it's got to have a story.
Right.
And, the characters in it, Don McGrath shared this with me, and I also read this with Napoleon Hill. He would set up these imaginary characters. He'd get off in a room, like at a table, and each character would have a chair at that table. And he would sit there and he would call on them by name, verbally, out loud. Tom, what do you think about this? Well, Tom, the way you've been acting lately, I got the impression. And Mary, wait a minute, Mary, let Tom finish and I'll let you start. Don McGrath told me about that. He says he was writing a book on fiction. He was struggling. And an author told him, give your characters a personality. Let them write the story. And Don told me the first time his wife saw him sitting there at a table and he's talking to people. You okay? I mean, you'll get some weird looks. I mean, think about that. But I mean, what it does subconsciously with the energy that comes to your creativity, this is one of your gifts. This is how you can develop a story. Okay, listen to me, folks. You can create your ideal customers there as imaginary individuals and practice on them and let the energy come to you, because that's the way answers come. Right. But you're as goofy as that sounds, it works, Donna. It really does. We know that.
But it's important to understand, and I want to say this, and we're almost out of time, folks.
Okay.
What we're really getting to here, when you take it and you do this, your company needs that storytelling, but it needs that personality, because it has a personality. The personality is you and how you brought that product or that business to life. That is the personality.
I like that, Donna. I couldn't have said that any better myself. In fact, I wish I was smart enough to think that up and said it, but she beat me to the punch. But you're exactly right. Of creating that personality. Amen.
Right.
And, if you're selling vitamins, give your vitamins some muscle.
Right.
Really. And it's all about getting people to connect with you. And that's what, use the story to be your salesperson.
Right.
That's the best way to look at it.
Absolutely. Really, you have to be your best salesperson by creating that personality from your business. Why do you think businesses have slogans? Even the ones that irritate the living bejeebers out of us on TV or on the radio. And I hear it and I think to myself, oh, good gravy, Gertrude. I wouldn't buy from them for anything in the world. And they don't care, because every time I hear it, I'm thinking, man, they irritate me. Man, that voice bothers me. So they've already done their job. They've created a personality.
Yeah. And it brings to mind, now some of you old folks, people in our baby boomers, excuse me, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm mentally challenged. So, I'm with you. I'm going to be 74 in August. And, but you'll remember this jingle from the 70s. I don't know, Donna may be too young for this. See the USA in a, and the word is Chevrolet. And
yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, and then you you come up to the 80s. Remember that lady, Clara Pella? She'd look at the, who was it? Arby's, or no, it wasn't Arby's. I forget the fast food restaurant, but her slogan was, she'd look at the hamburger there and she'd say, where's the beef?
I think it was McDonald's.
It might have been. I'm not sure. No, it wasn't.
I don't remember which one it was, but I remember that. And then there was Discount Tires, where the little old grandma had a tire. I mean, she had the sweater around her, buttoned up here, and the little glasses, and she had
she's
the
going
tire.
to the supermarket.
And she'd throw, they'd say, Discount Tires, satisfaction guaranteed, or bring it back. And she'd throw it through the window.
Yeah. And it showed the broken glass with the tire there, had discount tire and the broken glass. Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, discount tire and we're here for you,
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah, that's amazing because things like that, see the humor in those, it has the stickability to it.
Right.
And that's what you want. And we're so out of time, my goodness.
We are, but we're going to talk tomorrow about determining your audience. We're going to
Mm,
talk about fine tuning your message,
mm,
choosing a hero.
mm.
Big
Oh my
stuff right
goodness
there,
gracious.
folks.
I don't know about you folks, but after what Donna said she's going to be talking about, I'm going to be here. That's a wonderful thing about putting on a show like this. Not only is it a win-win for you, it's a win-win for Donna and me too, because
Oh, yeah. We
positive
learn every
energy.
day.
Oh yeah, positive energy like that just vibrates, and that's what we love doing about this show.
Mhm. But, Jim, we are flat out of time.
Yes, ma'am, we are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, and be sure and share this wonderful message that we're sharing with you with others. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. That's Inspirational Messages of Inspirational TV Show. It's on Facebook like that. That's our Facebook page. It's also listed like that on our YouTube channel. And we have all of our shows listed also on our website, messages of inspirational stories.live. Our website is really a blog, and all the shows are picked up there the next day. So we've got all the shows there. And be sure and share anything that would be of value to someone there, because
Right.
that's why we do what we do here. We're not about ourselves. We don't have guests coming in and telling you how great they are. We share great information for you. And Don and I have been very blessed. Our show has just continued to grow. And we just want to say thank you for that from the bottom of our
Absolutely.
heart.
Without
And
you, we wouldn't be here.
that's right. That's right. And Donna wouldn't have to put up with me. But most importantly, folks, thank you so much. Be sure and love yourself first, then you can love others. And as Donna likes to say, be sure to love yourself enough and give yourself
Grace.
grace. That's right. Give you put some slack in your chain, and
Right.
be sure and come back tomorrow. We'll have some more information. Be sure and share our show. Thank you again. Bless you. We hope you and your loved ones are healthy and happy and safe. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.